One. Hello, everyone. I am here with my good friend Lavette. Lavette, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Wayne. How about you?
Doing well. You know, as far as the quietness in my soul, fine. But I gotta tell you, girl, it just seems like things are going weird out there. So you and I were talking, and thank you for coming back on. I had a lot of requests for you, and people just thoroughly enjoyed the last time we spoke. So I thought we would bring you back and let you give some of your insight into what is taking place now, what this eclipse is going to do, and kind of go from there. And you and I were talking about something that fascinated me. Mercury is in retrograde. What does that mean? Tell us what that implies, what's the impact, etc., on our lives and the world as a whole.
Mercury rules communication, travel, and commerce. So when Mercury goes into retrograde, that energy can throw you off. If
Wow, so that basically kind of covers everything.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't know it's coming, you don't know how to prepare for it. This is a time that when you say things, you will be misunderstood. Breakdown in communication, cell phones, computers, telephones, even mail. Your mail is going to be slow. Everything concerned with communications and commerce, not to be confused with money. Commerce is trade, not actual money. You can trade without the concept of money.
Yeah,
You can trade ideas,
right.
but you shouldn't do any of this during Mercury retrograde. When it goes backwards, it's looking into the past, and that's what it's asking you to do. It's asking
Oh,
you to review, rethink, everything. Do it again. Is there something in the past? It's going over the past few weeks. It's just come through, so it's asking you to look back, like when you're in school and it's time for a review. You look back over the material you just covered, and that's what you're supposed to do. And this is working out excellent because we're going to look back over something we just did, which was the solar eclipse, which
mm,
will also be there when Mercury is still in retrograde. So it's asking us to look back, to rethink, to review, revisit. Um, if it's communications, is there somebody you should have contacted in the past few weeks that you said, I'll call you back, and you didn't do it?
mhm.
Now's the time to do it. Write that letter you didn't write. Make that call you didn't make. Uh, do those things that you put off in the last few weeks. Now is the time to get them done. And when you do that, you channel this energy in the proper way and it won't take you down.
Wow.
And that's how you do it. All of the planets work this way. They're all energies,
Yeah,
just like the sun. They emit frequencies and energies.
I don't think people really think about that enough, Lavette, that
We're
these
not,
celestial bodies,
well,
they're living.
yeah, we're not taught. It's like you being in a room and a really bad person walks into that room. Everybody gets that vibe. They're like,
Hmm.
oh, it just runs across them. And they don't know what it is, but that's the energy that just entered that space, and it
Mm.
changes the frequencies around it. And that's what's happening to a lot of us. The sun's going through not only a cyclical phase in its 12-year cycle, but it's going through a really long phase of a galactic cycle as it moves from Pisces into Aquarius. It is changing. The sun goes through an alchemical change, its frequency, and then it changes us as we evolve.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that we're right now almost reaching the Mulder minimum on the sun in its 22-year cycle, which we now know is a much longer cycle.
Yes.
So we are really hitting. Now, this is science, folks. We're talking science on both sides of the equation here, what Lavette is talking about and what we're talking about here as far as what our sun is going in. So we know now that we're hitting, and the sun is, there's a weird thing happening, Lavette, that as you were talking, it just came to mind. We're constantly seeing what has been termed now the Earth quiet effect. And this is where we can have massive sunspots that would move in front of the Earth, and all of a sudden their energy is drained. They move out from the influence of the Earth, right or left, and all of a sudden they come back alive again. Could this be a part of that effect?
Absolutely. As the sun moves from one house to another, houses of the zodiac are positive, negative, positive, negative. And if the sun is going to switch from a positive charge to a negative charge, then it automatically, the earth will flip and throw the opposite charge.
Hmm.
It's like a 9-volt battery. You have two pegs, one's positive, one's negative. A car battery, it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You have one positive, one negative. Well, if one's throwing off a positive charge and it flips into a negative space, its energy is going to change.
Yeah.
And that's what's occurring. And the sun itself will change. It alchemically changes into four different phases, four different times as it moves through uh, the transmutation circle of the zodiac.
Oh wow! And I see that's interesting because as I'm sitting here thinking about this, what we're seeing, not only with our sun, but when you talk about polarities, polarities flipping. I mean that what I'm hearing, and I'm translating that as a pole shift. I
Um,
mean, you can't say if, as I have been reading in the ancient documents, there's evidence that has happened, and what you just described would sound like that, right?
Absolutely. We even see it happening in people. I'm even going to use the word you said, pole shift. We're seeing pole shift in the human population, even in basic gender, right down to gender, I, confusion of gender identity
Yeah, yeah.
really has a lot to do with this. This happens all the time throughout history. We've gone through this cycle and this same thing happens. Um, you would consider it confusion. It's almost confusion, which again, that word Babylon,
Yeah,
confusion.
yeah.
Uh, that's where we're at. We're in Babylon right now. So the whole point is to come out of confusion and come into understanding.
So I'm reading in the Bronze books, particularly in the Book of Gleanings, and what you're describing here is again impacting our species. They had written that the reason why we can't remember our past is that we have done it to ourselves. We have experienced some terrible, terrible things. I mean, when we talk about shifts of the planet, worth wise, landmass wise, earthquake wise, that these events were so traumatic on the human collective consciousness that we purposely wiped the memories out.
Absolutely. I relate it to like a bunch of children in a household that are being abused. Say you've got 5 kids in a house and mommy's abusive. When those kids grow up, they all respond in a different way. Some will remember everything, they don't forget any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Others will completely block it out. They can't handle the trauma, they can't handle those memories constantly being there. So to them, it's a survival mode in the brain. You wipe it and you remember nothing. It
Mm-hmm.
did not happen. It just didn't happen.
When you were talking, it reminds me of that movie back in the early 90s with Barbara Streisand and Nick Nolte and The Prince of Tides. The family had suffered such a traumatic event that the daughter had completely forgotten, but it showed back up later in her life by her wanting to kill herself. So,
Absolutely. That's your shadow work, the things you bury in your subconscious that you don't want to deal with.
ooh. Now, how does this, and this all ties in to what we're experiencing right now, this Mercury in retrograde, because I got to tell you, it's like the old saying goes that it's getting crazy out there.
Sure, it is. This happens a couple times every year. Mercury is always going retrograde, but especially the religious communities around the world have been so terrified by their priests and pastors telling them astrology is evil.
Yeah.
Their own books are astrology books. Ignorance is rampant on this planet.
Well, let's just stop on that one point right there, that the Bible is an astrologer's book.
Absolutely. It even claims to be.
Okay, I'm going to give you the floor. Let's get into this a little bit. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is all relevant to what you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. The Bible is an astrologer's book.
Yeah. In Genesis, before God even creates man, he creates the sun and the moon on the fourth day.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he says is he creates them for signs.
Yes.
So you're looking at the zodiac, the alchemical transmutation circle was created before we ever were. And the sun and the earth are in the center of that circle. It's what's being transmutated. Jesus, who is Aquarius on the cross, tells you to pick up your cross and follow him. Your cross is your natal chart. And you either have a fixed cross, a mutable cross, or a cardinal cross. There are only three. There are only three crosses at Golgotha, and those are the three crosses. Jesus is the man on the fixed cross. On one side of him is a goat on a cardinal cross, and on the other side is a fish on a mutable cross. He called them both thieves and robbers, the mutable and the cardinal.
Interesting. You know
And
what I love about this, and you keep going, I was going to say, you know what, folks, what I love about this? It allows my mind to see what the Christ was thinking. Because, you know, Lavette, and particularly for me and the doctrine and the dogma that I was raised in, you get it so, I don't know, tunnel vision.
yeah,
So keep on. So we're talking on the cross. So we have the immutable, which is the fish, and the
right.
goat, which is,
Cardinal Capricorn, Cardinal Earth.
okay.
Ironically, uh, only a cardinal can be a pope on the earth, and the only cardinal Earth is Capricorn. We should never have a pope that is anything but a Capricorn. Period. If we should be raised by what sign we're born under tells us what we should be doing. The society we live in are trying to stamp us out to be carbon copies of one thing. They want us to all be the same. We're not allowed individuality. And the zodiac is about individuality. Two people can be born on the same day and be completely different, just being born a few minutes apart or a few miles apart because of the position of the planets.
Well, I find hope and solace in the statement that you just made that a simulation of the collective consciousness would be very difficult just because of what you said. What we have now is this conflict. We don't understand so much about ourselves, but yet we're so preoccupied keeping away from that. And as you said, they're trying to stamp out this. How many centuries has the church stamped astrology and astrologists as witches?
It's been going on for 5,000 years. It's been going on since we moved from the age of earth out of Egypt into Asia, into the age of Aries and fire.
mm,
I call it the gods of fire. The books that we have, the Old Testament came in the age of Aries. It wanted to destroy everything before it and lay claim to it. And it hooked up, which was ruled by Mars, and it hooks up with Jupiter, which Mars and Jupiter rule all water and fire.
oh,
So you have
so when you say that, I immediately think of Roman and Greek.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. That's exactly what you're talking about.
okay. Now you see, folks, that was intuition. I didn't know that, Lavette. So go on. This is
Yeah.
great.
So
So
what
let's talk about how this has been a concerted effort to, as I say, rob humanity of a very valuable knowledge, Lavette, and that is astrology. The signs have been there. I mean, since the beginning. You said
Yes.
God established the sun and the moon and the stars. He put them in their fixed place. I can take
Yes.
you into the book of Psalms. I can take you in the book of Isaiah, where it is replete with those type of phrases.
Yes. Every book has a phrase in it if you understand how to read it. So many words were manipulated. Like every time you see the word heaven, it's referring to an air sign. You have a
Not a
carbon,
physical place.
not a physical place.
Yes.
I always say you're asking the wrong question. Example, uh, if I showed you a picture of Dagon, the fish man, you would
Yeah.
say, who is that? That's the wrong question. The question is, when is that? Because it's a time marker. You have a man and a fish. Fish is Pisces, the man is Aquarius. It's a timeline of the changing of the ages from Pisces to Aquarius, and it lasts 216 years.
That fits perfectly, ladies and gentlemen, into the Chaldean account of Genesis, because what Lavette just talked about. Now, in a lot of Bible folklore, I know sometimes that has been referred to as Nimrod, but according to the Chaldean text, the Akkadian record, those are the Ones, and it's exactly what you said, Lavette. They came at a time of a changing of the age.
That's right. It's called a when, not a who.
I love that. Okay. All right.
A lot,
So,
a lot of what we have is hidden in iconography, pictography. We are under what I call psychopictography warfare. Um, it has to do with Catholic iconography. People did not read. Only the priest could read. So it didn't matter that they manipulated the language because they're all in on the game.
mhm.
Um, so they hid it in uh, their art. Every time you see, we talked about this one, every time you see Jesus or a saint or Baphomet or some Masonic symbol, they're holding up these two fingers. And that's the whole key. And that is a win too. It's when is it? It's two fingers. It's when Saturn and Jupiter meet. Right in the middle of these two eclipses we're fixing to have, we'll have a Saturn Jupiter conjunction 3.5 years into it. And that is just when you have a Saturn Jupiter conjunction in the middle of two eclipses, in the middle of Aquarius and Pisces, it's a big event. It's a big marker. It's telling you, wake up, this is it, pay attention, look up, and stand under and understand and move
Ooh.
forward. Yeah,
So I want to get into this a little bit because here is where a lot of I had to unlearn that the doctrine, what you just described, I could say, well, I could point to that as the tribulation, 3.5
absolutely.
years.
Yeah,
But what my spirit hears, what my soul hears as when I see this now, is that it's not so much to an earthly happening as it is that this is something, how shall I say it? Yeah,
galactic.
yeah. I was going to say on a galactic conscious level, there is a change happening. But Lavette, I feel it. You've seen
Yes,
the videos. People are responding. Every day it seems like there's more and more, but at the same time, now I'm understanding this where we got the whole Mercury in retrograde, where there are people who are fighting this and
yep.
then they don't understand what's going on.
No, they don't.
Well, let's help them a little bit. This is a change, folks. This is so, Lavette. I had Gary Polvance on Friday, and I tell you, we're going to have him back on. He is just his story and what he was shown by this stranger about what's coming. What you just described, and what I continue to read, is all evidence of something about to happen.
Absolutely. The Maharishi are screaming it as well. They call it, we're coming into the golden age.
I heard that. I heard that.
Indeed, we are. Saturn has not ruled since Capricorn rose in the spring equinox, and that's been over 20,000 years ago. And we are returning to that point. Capricorn rules, Capricorn and Aquarius are both ruled by Saturn, which rules the golden age. This age has demonized Saturn. They call him Satan. That was a word manipulation. If you know how to read the New Testament, it tells you that Satan is the god of this world age, which happens to
Yes,
be
yes.
Jupiter. Jupiter's the
Oh,
god of this world age,
that's John
not
14.
Saturn.
Wow.
So Jupiter is Satan. Jesus called Peter Satan.
He
Um,
did.
Judas Iscariot was the son of Simon. Is that Peter Simon, the son of Satan? It depends on how you have to have a legend. To read a map,
You've
you
got to
must
have.
know the legend.
Hey, yep, you got it. So,
And we've been given the wrong legend to read the Bible.
so in these events now, one of the things I did is at some time ago, this epiphany hit that, folks, this is a big event. They're rare, as I understand it, when they're on this level, Lavette. But am I wrong to say that there's also a gleaning, a cleansing that takes place during this? Because
Well,
how do you have one conscious that is retarded of the dark ways of this past and present age entering into a new one? How do you reconcile that?
okay, well, we're going to talk about that in an alchemical way.
Okay.
You have four stages in alchemy. You have your prima materia, which is what you start with, your basic material element, and it goes through coagulation and dissolution, fermentation, coagulation, and dissolution. We are at the point right now that we came from Earth out of Egypt, which was the prima materia. We added fire from Aries. We added water from Pisces. And now we need to dry everything out because we're going to air. We're at the event horizon. Dagon, that win of Pisces into Aquarius, gives us a timeline, but it also gives us how it's going to work, that we move from water to air, the event horizon, the point of no return. There'll be no looking back. This is it. You have 216 years that's divided into 3 years. We've already done two of those. We're in the
Mm.
last 72-year leg of this race. And as we move through it, it's like fermenting beer or fermenting anything. You got to scrape that crap off the top before you can see it. And
Oh,
we call it slag.
okay.
So you got to get rid of the slag to get the pure quintessence or essence of a thing. And that's what the universe is looking for. It's looking to pull the best of the best out of this existence. We can't all go. You
Yeah.
have to do your homework. You have to want to go. The whole point of this is I can't pay for your sins. I can't pay for your mistakes. You must take responsibility for yourself. You can't blame the world on your unhappiness. We
Yes.
spend all of our time wasting time instead of getting the job done, do your homework, pay attention, follow the rules, and then life can be happy. But we've been lied to. People are miserable
Yes, they
because
are.
they've been lied to. You have an elite group out there that know all this truth, and they think if they keep this information to themselves, they can be the only ones that evolve. But they've tricked themselves, and they're actually, that group is devolving because they've stepped into the dark side. It Love is a verb. It's a giving thing. We're moving into an age of love. We're moving into an age of enlightenment. We're all going to know. We're moving into the age of knowing. There'll be no jealousy. There'll be no more competition. We'll have, and there will not be this rubber stamped carbon copy people. We were created as individuals for a reason.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
we all have a purpose. Nobody seems to know what their purpose is. I'm doing these charts, and as I do them, these people, they want to know questions, and they're all asking me basically the same question. They don't fit in, they don't belong. What am I supposed to be doing? And all they need is a little direction, and it's life changing. Now I know who I am, what I am, and where I'm going, what I'm supposed to be doing. Um,
So good. This is what people need to hear and need to know and find out. And listen,
People
Lavette,
are desperate right now.
oh my goodness. I told the story yesterday about that couple that were so wrapped up in fear that rational thought was not there.
I know
And
fear is the mind killer.
oh boy, I mean, how many times have we heard that? I think the best example of that is the movie Dune. you know
Yeah,
yeah. And when Paul asked to put his hand into the box, and but this is where I think this couple was metaphorically. They were in that place of absolute, their souls, Lavette, were completely distorted.
yeah.
you know
It's like the Nibiru stuff
yeah.
and slinging all that. Nibiru is an ancient name, Babylonian name for Jupiter. So I tell my subs, Nibiru's not coming. Nibiru is leaving. It's been here for over 2,000 years with Mars ruling this place. They rule with war. Jupiter is the index finger, and Mars is the thumb. And that's like bang, 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 bang. And that's all we've had for 5,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming into a time where there'll be no war, there'll be no lies.
Well,
There'll
what
be
most
no
people don't
murder.
know is that there are ancient writings, ladies and gentlemen, that speak of when the earth didn't have a moon. I read a story in the Bronze Book in one of the destructions of earth, in which there had been many, that when man emerged from the caves and the mountaintops, he looked up and the moon was no longer there. But guess what was? Saturn.
That's right.
Now, people don't can't find that hard, but Saturn, and Lavette, tell me if I'm, from your point of view, what I read was that Saturn was called the golden light. That nighttime wasn't necessarily nighttime. It was almost kind of like that twilight time.
Well, when you talk about Saturn and Jupiter, both you're talking about gas giants.
Yeah.
And they illuminate, they have their own heat source. They don't need the sun. And they throw off their own frequency. Well, when the sun shifts its frequency, the two big boys on the block are going to shift as well. They gave us the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, telling us Jupiter would be the next sun.
Mm-hmm.
That was such crap. I just wanted to throw it in my grave. Because again, that's Nibiru. It's false hope. It's misdirection. It's the lie. It's the lady in red. But Saturn, on the other hand, who they've completely demonized, is our last best hope for mankind
Then why would that be?
because he's the original father of time, Kronos. He deals with
Ah.
agriculture, he deals with government. Jupiter deals with religion, philosophy, and that's what's been shoved down our throat for 2,000 years is religion and philosophy and a warped view of it. Um,
How interesting, because it was Kronos who actually came to Adam, or the Adama, and told him, or not the Adama, excuse me, which we would call Noah, and said, listen, it's about to get wet. Wake up. So interesting. Cronus. Okay.
Kronos hadn't actually been on the block, like I said, for 20,000 years.
Yeah, I haven't heard about it at all.
All of the books, all of the iconography, and even all of the archaeology that we're allowed to see right now has only been here since the gods of fire and water have been ruling. Everything else has been manipulated and destroyed. The best story we have is the Chaldean account and the Mesopotamian accounts in
Mm-hmm.
form. But again, Zechariah Sitchin was Jesuit trained.
Oh, he screwed it up.
Yeah, even the Dead Sea Scrolls were translated at Claremont University in California, which is a Jesuit university. So to me, again, they left the story, but they changed enough words to you didn't realize that it's astrology and alchemy, and you think it's religion. Simple
Mm-hmm.
enough. The word air is heaven in the Bible.
The thought crossed my mind today, Lavette. I was thinking about this subject that we get so wrapped up. We look at it from our religious point of views, and we read, for instance, the Old Testament prophets. But here's the disconnect. They were Hebraic Hebrew prophets. They were not prophets to the world. They were prophets giving a message to their people, not the world,
That's
their
right.
people.
From their god, Mars.
Exactly. And folks, you want to argue with me on this one? It would be the same thing, Lavette, if we were to look at China and its rich histories that goes beyond the Semites before they were ever around.
Yes.
They had prophets.
Yes, you can look at the architecture of a place in history, and you can tell what age it was ruled under, whether it was ruled under earth, water, fire, or air, just by the architecture.
And each one of them would have a distinct signature and a distinct, I guess.
A symbol.
Yes, thank you.
I'll explain it this way. In the Bible, we're told that the logos means power,
Mm-hmm.
and that it means the word, and that it means love. Depending on who you ask, you'll get these three translations. A logo is a symbol, and a symbol is very powerful. In the beginning was the word. This word comes from the word verb, and it actually is associated with the constellation of Aquarius and Capricorn. It means to do. It's like love is a verb, right? It's not something you feel, it's something you do. We are constantly asking the wrong question when you should be asking every question. It's not just who is that, it's who, what, when, where, why, and how about everything. So everything has a who, everything has a what, everything has a when, everything has a why, and everything has the how. But we're so tunnel visioned by our pastors. They pull us to the pit. They're at the pulpit, and they pull us to the pit to alter us at the altar. And they've kind of ran out of magic tricks in the church. It's falling apart. So they shoved this democracy on us, which is a demonstration. And I would say Jesus is neither Republican or Democrat. He's a monarchist. We should have one ruler.
Yeah. I just read a Pew Research study, and the exodus out of the Christian faith is massive. I mean, we're talking millions, and I like how you just said that they've run out of magic to keep, and how you describe the pulpit. Right on, girl.
It's all Bible babble. I grew up in the South, so I have what they call a Southern drawl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's draw L. We draw L with our tongue, right? We draw God with our tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of easy for me to pick up on the Bible babble. It's like when you lay the constellations out in Hebrew, each constellation is for one of the tribes of the sons of Abraham, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sons of Israel, 12 children, 12 tribes. Well,
12 signs of the zodiac.
That's right. The tribe of Gad has a standard or a flag sigil, and on it are tents, palm trees, and an oasis. And that coincides with the stars that are in Aquarius. The main star in Aquarius in Arabic is Fomalhaut. They call him Thalem. And Thalem means educator or instructor, like the Holy Spirit will teach you and guide you in all things.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that sigil for that tribe in Hebrew is Gad. So Thalem, or the lamb of Gad, is the Lamb of God.
Interesting.
It's that simple. A child could do it. They phonetically changed it, and they did it using the vowels. A vow is a vow of El, or a vow of God. And you put L before the vow. It's the oath. That's the oath the priest took, was to alchemically remove all the vowels from the alphabet. They did this in Hebrew. And they're interchangeable. And that's how they pulled off the Bibble Babble. All they had to do was switch around a few vowels.
Yep.
And it's basically a dialect. When you start learning different languages and you realize that, like in English, we say, John, go to the store. We're the only language that does that. Every other language would say, go to the store, John. They put the verb before the subject. We put the subject before the verb. It's like English is a Pig Latin language. If you want to pull the sword from the stone, you must pull the words from the tones. You take the S and throw it at the end of the word. It's Pig Latin. Ude, uye, ixpe, igpe, atenway. You
Mm-hmm.
got it. Do you speak Pig Latin? You
Right.
take the first letter, throw it at the end, and say AY.
There
I
you go.
speak Arabic. I had my niece ask me to translate for her boyfriend was Arabic, and she wanted to know what he was saying behind her back. So I said, well, just do it to him. You and your friend, we all grew up speaking Pig Latin. You and your friends speak Pig Latin. They can't understand it, and it drives them mad.
Well, that I'm laughing because what you are saying, and
It's so
folks, I hope you're
simple a
getting
child could get it.
but let's put it in the context of how we then begin to read the Bible. You see, all rational thought begins to evade because, again, as I've heard it said, when God told man, he said, listen, you are equal to me. And indeed, that's what the Christ said. The kingdom of God lives in you. You are God. God is you.
Yeah.
But here's what God said to man. He said, you will live in a reality of illusion where I live in a reality of truth. And your challenge and your quest is to get where I am. I am not coming to you.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
like the morning glories in the sunflower. They got to turn and look at the sun. It
yes,
will come to them.
exactly. And we get this so confusion about words. I mean, listen, I have had my proverbial tail end ripped apart because people can't handle the fact. And when you try to tell them, listen, folks, what you're reading, what you call your book, understand this. It's been through many renditions, many, not translations, transmutations.
Yep.
And that's the problem, Lavette, because we don't understand. You are one of the best linguists that I have found, and I love how you explain it to me as a layman. I can understand this.
I've always said all of our poetry, literature, it's all embedded. I can tell you that the Bible of the New Age will be Moby Dick.
Mm-hmm.
They call me Ishmael, which is Aquarius, the man of
Mm-hmm.
God. He is the man of the tribe of Gad, man of God.
And by the way, the ascension process, as I am understanding this, is that you have to, and it's on the individual level, but once you start figuring out how the lock is opened, that this is part of what I now call ascending. Your soul is ascending to a higher level of thought.
That's already occurring. We are all ascending right now. Some of us at different levels. I'm not sure a lot will make it. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think so
Big
either.
deal is, and a lot of people's lives are tore up about it and they don't understand what's going on, but it's for their good.
Let's talk about this a little bit.
This is the time of letting go, Wayne. Uh, the the times themselves are stripping people down. If there are things in your life that are not serving you in your future, they're being taken away from you. People are losing everything and they don't understand because you're attached to it. You can't move into the future if you're addicted and attached to things in this timeline.
Ooh.
You're going to stay here. You're it's where your heart is. Wherever your heart is, that's where you're going to be. That's why we're told to store up our treasures in heaven.
Oh, Lavette, what you just said here, and may I interject, ladies and gentlemen, this is where technology is going to take us down. I just read, Lavette, a very prominent professor, sociologist and anthropologist, is saying he doesn't think we have more than 200 years at the current rate. We will literally self-destruct. And what you're saying to me is, I see our population now. Everyone now has the little black box with them. They may have a different color on the outsides, but it's still that box that is taking us. Oh, Lavette, so you're right. I have people writing to me and saying, we don't understand what's happening. It seems like we're losing where we should be gaining. We see others making progress, but we seem to somehow be losing things.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
It's like asking the wrong question. You're fighting for the wrong thing. You're fighting to hold on to a house you're not supposed to have. You're fighting to hold on to a job you're not supposed to have. You're fighting to hold on to a relationship you're not even supposed to be in. And to move into this new world, you have to let go of the old one. You can't go get a new couch until you throw out the old one. We have to unlearn, unprogram to be reprogrammed. I try to explain to people, and they still come at me with this questions from bad programming. That question's not even answerable because it's not part of this new language. We have to learn a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. And that new way is going to be knowing. We have been living in the time of, I believe, blind faith, with the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
We're coming into knowing. We're not going to be able to be scammed anymore by priests or politicians or magicians or sorcerers or any of them, because everybody's going to be in the know. At least those who can make the transition. Some people I see 4 different groups. Those who are just on the road, they're doing it. They're walking their line and they're going to make it to the next side. And then you have those that are fighting it, but it'll strip them down anyway and take them. And then there are those who are just zombied. They're still stuck in the past. They're blind. And then the ones that completely shut down. I mean, completely collapse. Our mental institutions are full.
Mm-hmm.
Big Pharma has this country alone so medicated, they don't want to deal with it.
3 out of 5 Americans, folks, are on some sort of antidepressant, antipsychotic, anti-anxiety. Lavette, it is absolutely freaking scary.
Yeah, and opiate addiction. I mean, I've lost 31 people in my life that I buried because of opiate overdose.
Well, and what I just didn't realize is that it's not so much the opioids, is that they're mixing the fentanyl in there.
Oh, yeah, and they're mixing it with the antidepressants.
What is the wrong with people, folks?
They're addicted. They can't deal with life.
It's the demons that have literally, yeah. And these are self-made demons, folks. Listen,
absolutely.
There are real demons out there. Let's all establish that. But, folks, this is how they trick us. Yeah, and you said something about alchemy and chemical. I mean, so this addiction, it almost seems like it's related to what's going on with this event.
It keeps you tied to the flesh.
Yes.
You're feeding the flesh.
The flesh pots.
Yeah, inside of you are 2 wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf. Which one lives? The one you feed. So they're feeding the addiction.
All right. So we see the increase of mental unstable.
You're losing audio. I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
No. What happened here?
I don't know.
All right. Hold on one second, Lavette. I don't know what's going on. Huh.
I can hear you. It sounds like you're on the other side of the room, like you walked away from the mic.
Let's see what's going on here then.
I'm wondering, can others hear you, or is it just me?
Recording. All right, folks, we're back because we just experienced Mercury retrograde. Literally, folks, just to let you know what happened here, I have 2 systems and I didn't touch it. Lavette and I were just talking. it automatically switched to the other system, the other sound card. Lavette, that's weird. We were talking about something that apparently maybe the forces to be don't want to be talked about.
Yeah, it puts you in the box.
And it did. So, all right. So we were talking about this is a time that for those who are really hurting, that they seem to be losing things, whether it's relationships, whether it's material things, etc., that actually they should be looking at this not so much from a point of loss or negativity, but actually a positive event.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that because people want to hear. Listen, this couple I spoke with, they were deeply religious. They were good people, but as the husband told me, he said we went to our church. He said we talked to our pastor, we talked to the deacons. He said we tried to talk to our closest friends, and he said we couldn't express number one the fear. I mean, when you tell people in a church, hey, there's a planet coming in, it's all over the internet, and we've in this event of the eclipse, is the ushering in of Revelation 12, and they were ready to get on the bus.
Yeah.
And I said, time out. But what they were looking for, all right, so help me. Explain to me a little bit what's going on. So, Lavette, let's help them.
Okay. A lot of fear mongering going on out there. Why? Why is all this happening? Uh, because fear is an addiction. It sets off a chemical reaction in your body. It's like going to the amusement park. You get on the roller coaster. It is the thrill of the ride. And adrenaline can be addicting to people. And they watch it and it sets off that chemical reaction in their brain. And then they watch it again and again and they want more and they want more. And it's a feeding frenzy on fear porn right now, when that is such a distraction. You cannot walk in love and fear at the same time.
No, you cannot.
Fear and love can only live in two places, and that's in the heart and the mind.
Yes, yes.
Evil can only live in two places, and that's in the hearts and the minds of men. You got to get out of the fear, number one. You're never going to get where you're going looking where you've been. Let it go. Drop the baggage from the past. It's not going to serve you. Stop listening to the lies of the preacher. You have to go within yourself to find your answers. A lot of people have shadow work to do between now and 2020. This midpoint between these two eclipses, you got Pluto in a conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter, and that brings up the monsters of the id. So what's going to happen?
Ooh, well, let's talk about that. The monsters of the id. That's the monsters of identity.
Yeah, these people that are walking in fear, when this alignment comes, it's a time of manifestation. And if you're walking in fear, you are going to manifest the monsters of your mind.
Oh my God, folks, are you listening to this?
If you're walking in your heart, you will manifest the desires of your heart. And that's what's going down.
Oh, now I got to stop right here, Lavette. This is very, very fortuitous. I was up last night late reading, and one of the secrets they call of the three elements is that we have to understand we can manifest that which we see within us.
Absolutely. I either call it be a daydream believer or you're going to manifest your nightmares.
Ooh, very simply put. All right, so Pluto is aligned with Saturn and with Jupiter. Yeah. And when is this event due to take place? What are we about? You said about 3 years down the road?
Yeah, it happens on the winter solstice in 2020. It is the 2012 event. They lied to us by 8 years. It happens on the winter solstice. You have a Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto conjunction in the sign of Saturn, which is Capricorn. Saturn is already taken over in so many ways. Kabbalistically, he just entered this year his 36-year rule of the 7 planets. So he's in control there. And then he takes control in Aquarius. And then he takes control at this Saturn Jupiter conjunction because it's in his house. So all these are good things. But the church is telling everybody that Saturn's the devil. So they're all looking at with fear and bad things. The church is forcing people to walk in fear. And it is exactly the opposite of anything that Jesus would have taught.
I say it's the greatest mind blank of all
That's
time.
right. That's right.
You
That's
know,
exactly what it is. And it's
it really is, because
been on for 2,000 years. Actually,
yeah.
longer than that.
Well, yeah, I think like you had said that this has been some time. So as we see this now coming about, I like how you just said this. There's time to prepare. As I keep telling people, the answer lies within.
That's right. Well, on this eclipse coming up.
Yeah, so let's get back to that now, because I know we got about 20, we got about 15 minutes left. So let's talk about this.
Right. I call it flipping the table. The tables are going to turn. That's what this eclipse is about. If there is an earthquake that follows this eclipse, the veil will be rent. Everybody's eyes are going to be open. And when that happens, you are going to manifest what's inside of you. If the eclipse don't happen, I mean, the eclipse happens and the earthquake don't happen, then we're going to go through this whole 7 years. And in 2020, you're going to see Walking Dead everywhere. These people who just seem like they have no soul, they're going to give up. The church is collapsing. Nobody's offering solution.
No.
Everybody's walking around fear pointing fingers. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. But nobody's got solutions. And even the church has turned to fear.
So, Lavette, I have been hearing from a lot of my former Christian friends. They're like I am, like you are. We still believe. Listen, there's a God. Was there a Christ? Yes, folks, there have been many Christs who have come and given us. The one who gave us what you read, this is how I see it. He spoke of the things that have been written in the past. As he said, it's God the kingdom of God is in you. It's come. It's not going to be a physical manifestation, but here's the point. They're being drawn, as one person wrote me last night, they said, we are like you. There's something pulling us to this event. And they were saying, do you have any idea why? And I said, listen, all I know is those who are getting the message, there's a reason for it. What do you think, Lavette?
The universe is calling out to everybody. Do you have ears to hear?
Mm-hmm.
I say it like this. You have to hear with your eyes and see with your ears.
Yes. Yes.
When you see something, a picture, what is it saying? You're looking at it, but it's talking to you. So you have to have eyes that hear.
Yes.
And ears, when you hear something, you need to create that visual image in your mind so that your ears can see.
Yes.
We've been taught to do everything backwards and upside down.
Boy.
We're born upside down. A friend of mine quoted his friend the other day. It's like we come into this world and the first thing we see is this doctor with a mask on his face. Right? Who is this masked man?
It's like, oh crap, this is the way it's going to be.
Who is this masked man? And we spend our whole lives that way. Who is this Jesus? Who is this God? Who am I? Who are you? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? We come into this place with a million questions, and they're ready. The church and the government are there ready, telling you who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, what you need to believe, when all of that's written in the heavens. Yeah. You were born on a certain day at a certain time in a certain constellation under a certain arrangement of stars. That tells you who you are. That's your cross. That's your burden. That's your destiny. Not what the Bible says or the preacher at the pull you to the pit says. It's what the stars say. I call it the language of the birds. And when you learn the language of the birds, which is symbology, pictography,
yes,
you cannot be lied to by men.
Well, that's why I'm learning angelic script. It's quite fascinating. I want to get back as we close out this, Lavette. So you and I were talking prior to going recording this that the eclipse starts in Salem, Oregon.
Yep.
Now, I had thought about that. I'd already figured out, all right, it starts in the 33rd state. It exits on the 33-degree line. Um,
It crosses the Yellowstone,
yeah, so
crosses the New Madrid.
yes, it do, doesn't it?
Every city that it crosses 12 states. That's ironic. 12 constellations,
Okay,
12.
12 constellations. It comes in Salem, Oregon, the 33rd state. It goes out on the 33-degree parallel line. All right, this is getting weird.
Yeah.
12 states.
The Masons knew all this. That's why they can look years into the future at the eclipses, and they knew exactly where to build Salem. They knew exactly where to build Nashville. They knew exactly where to build Memphis. They knew the Mississippi is the new Madrid, the new mother. Um, it's upside down from Egypt. Egypt was the age of Earth. North America is Capricorn. South America is Aquarius. It's Baphomet. It's the two ages of Saturn. And the god Jupiter and Mars from Europe and the Middle East want to hijack this age. So time itself, Saturn, has threw them a little bone or monkey wrench in their works. Europe right now is in the middle of the battle of fire and ice because the fire out of Asia and the Middle East is consuming Europe right now.
Go on, go on.
They are right in the middle of that battle. The government here has to come down. North America and South America, it's happening. It is being orchestrated, but it's being orchestrated on one end by the celestials, which are of Western Asia, and Europe, which is in the Middle East, which is Jupiter and Mars. And they're all at war right now. Everybody wants a piece of this pie, but they're not going to get it. It belongs to the Native Americans. It belongs to the red man. It's the red stone. It's the philosopher's stone. And we will move into that. We will move into that. Even though we're moving from a feminine sign to a masculine sign, in the Baphomet sigils, in the Catholic iconography, when you got two fingers up and two fingers down, as above, so below. Well, the hand up is masculine, the one down is feminine.
Yeah.
So women are going to get a much better deal in the next age.
About time.
Not that we are equal or even that we rule over men, but women, we're different. We're just different. I'm sorry. We go through this thing, menopause, when we get older. And it's the Native Americans are men in this world. They go through the sweat tents, like the sweat lodge, to reproduce these things that women do automatically. As we go through menopause, we sweat all these toxins and hormones out of our bodies. We dehydrate. Water is what contains the spirit. It's trapped in water. So as we release our water, the veil for women releases. So the rulers of the next age will definitely be the grandmothers. After you go through menopause and you're a grandmother now, you start opening up. I mean, moms can be crazy, right? But grandmas are awesome. They've done it all, and they can pick up and still raise the grandkids. I learned so much from my grandmother. My mother barely raised me. We were raised by nannies, but my grandmother taught me things that are just now, I'm just now beginning to understand as I move through that stage in my life. Oh, this is great. When I first started going through menopause, I'm like, oh my God, puberty was bad. Being in the fertile stage of your life, having babies and all that, the burden on women is incredible on this planet, what we have to put up with. And today, daddy's gone. So she's having the baby, bringing home the bacon, changing the diapers, providing for the home. She's doing everything. And she's spent. She can't see which direction she's going in. But grandma can. Grandma can see now. Grandma's been through menopause. She remembers,
Mm-hmm.
and that veil come down for her. And of course, nobody wants to listen to Grandma. She's babbling, right? She don't know what she's talking about. She's got dementia, or does she?
Maybe she's speaking words of wisdom that your
Yeah.
ears can't discern.
Oh, I love going into old folks' homes and talking to these people. They can tell you some amazing things, especially those that are there at the transition when they're getting ready to cross over.
By the way, I've seen more and more of people making that are awake. They're realizing what's about to happen.
Absolutely. When you die, everything is revealed to you. Well,
Yeah.
the same thing happens when this age dies, everything will be revealed to us.
Well, the earth itself is going to respond too, isn't it, Lavette?
Oh, she is.
Because she is a she.
Yeah, she is a she. Everything below, water and earth, are feminine. Everything above, fire and air, are masculine.
Okay,
So, yeah,
good.
she's feminine, and she has a spirit and a soul of her own. She's pissed.
That's what I keep trying to tell people, folks. I have one of my subscribers who is Native American. Story, know who you are, and you know, as they have wrote many times, it's about time someone of the white race begin to realize this planet is alive, it has an identity, it is feminine, and it's pissed.
Yep.
It has had to absorb the blood, the violence, the negative energy from our species for far too long, and she's had enough.
Yep.
Now, I'm just telling you like it is. And Lavette's here. She is a woman because I'm a male. I can't understand females. Lavette, I can't. I mean, I love my wife. I'd do anything for her. But there's times when I'm reading and I can look over there and I have not a freaking clue what a female is, what they think, how they internalize things.
Your answer was in your statement. You don't understand her because you will not stand under her. You have no harmony because it's her money. Um, the woman should be in control of the house.
Well, I often said this. It's like my wife asked me one time, do I look fat in this dress? And I just simply asked, do I look stupid?
Yeah. My dad used to say, I would say, Dad, do you like my dress? He said, do you like it? Well, if you like it, I like it. If you don't, I don't. He knew not to get in trouble.
Go with the flow, as John Candy used to say.
If you like it, I like it. If you don't, I don't.
Well, Lavette, we have been on here for an hour. I'll tell you, I just love you. We got to do this again.
I want to throw in one more thing about this.
Sure. Yeah, let's do.
Of how we tell if it's that one.
Okay.
When the eclipse happened, when Jesus was on the cross, the sun eclipsed in the sign of Aquarius, the man on the cross, and there was an earthquake. Well, this time it's the lion on the cross. He's at the bottom of the cross. This is why the Catholic Church has the cross turned upside down. They're trying to put the lion back at the top, which are kings and rulers. The Vatican has crowned itself. So now the Pope is a triple crown. He's also a king. And so this denotes him as well. So if this eclipse happens in Leo at the bottom of the cross, they will suffer the same thing Christ did, right? You're going to die on that cross. And so if this earthquake happens and the veil rents, that everybody's going to see. Everybody's going to. It is completely upside down from when it happened in Jerusalem. If it happens in Salem. So it is the same event with the tables turned. It's time to flip the switch. This is it. But don't do it in fear. Do it in love, not foreboding, but how would you say it? Anticipating greatness.
Yeah.
Not anticipating doom and destruction. The only thing that's going to be destroyed are the things that will not serve us in the next age. Our governments are going, our militaries are going, our churches are going. There will not be a church standing anywhere on this planet. They will all be replaced with observatories, just like they used to be in Gemini, when Gemini rose in the spring equinox. We are moving to an age of air, an age of heaven.
Yeah. And Lavette, while you were saying this, I just want to remind our listeners, folks, we were at one time in a golden age in our far distant past. And I tell you, Lavette, as I read about that time, it had to be glorious.
Yeah, we're going on a magic carpet ride.
Yes, yes. God bless Steppenwolf. But so, Lavette, the next time you come on, and I'm going to tell you, folks, you need to subscribe to Lavette's channel over on YouTube. You need to help support her. I think that these are one of the great people that really are here for the uplifting and edification of our species. The knowledge that this woman has is priceless. It cannot be bought. For you or I to begin to try to obtain that, it would take us years. These are giftings. And Lavette, you definitely have a gift that humanity needs.
Yeah, you do too. Your heart is so big. The world needs that right now. I love 60 Seconds for Humanity. Uh,
Well,
all, all it takes is the fervent prayer of one man to change the world.
I believe that. I do believe that. And many are the woes of those who are the awakened. And it's just the price we pay. But you know, Lavette, when you and I make that transition to the other side, the price, we won't even think about it.
Yeah, a lot of people are awake right now. But think about it. When we wake up, do we remember the dream? A lot of people wake up and they're still in a daze.
Yeah.
They've not had their coffee. They don't know what day it is, what time it is. I mean, just because you're awake, uh, that's not saying a whole lot. You got to get up and get in motion before
Oh,
things can get done.
girl, boy, are you now telling? You hear that, folks? It's not good enough just merely to be awake. We've got to get up and get moving, folks.
That's right.
A lot
Get
of work to do out there.
Get your coffee going. Get the little stuff out of the corner of your eyes, the moat, and start seeing things for what they really are. Let's start asking the right questions. Then we can get the right answer. You'll never get the right answer asking the wrong question.
Lavette, let's meet next time, this next week. Maybe if we can give it this day. And I think we will do a great opportunity to do the post follow-up, and let's see what's going on.
That'll be great.
Okay, folks, listen, this has been Lavette. I'll tell you, folks, I'm going to leave the link. Go over there. Let's get her with an audience out there because people need to hear this. Lavette, I honor you and appreciate you, my friend. You and I are fellow sojourners. All right, folks, be kind to one another.